everybody. Welcome to episode 503 of Munster Kid Radio. I'm your writer, host, producer, Derek M. Cook. I'd like to welcome you to the show where we're going to talk about a Christmas movie this week on the podcast. Typically, we talk about the classic and sometimes not so classic genre cinema of yesteryear. Well, this time around, we're talking about a movie that came out in 1996. Yeah, it's a relatively newer film. Relatively newer? It's a newer film. It's something that we don't normally talk about here on the show, but it is The Munsters. And as far as I'm concerned, you talk about The Munsters, you're talking about something that we can talk about here on Monster Kid Radio. The movie is called The Munsters Scary Little Christmas. This is a made-for-TV film that, like I said earlier, came out in 1996. It aired on Fox Television. It was kind of sort of produced by Universal because it's the Munsters. It doesn't have any of the original cast, and you know what? We're going to talk a little bit more about it, actually a lot more about it here in a little bit with this week's guest. He is returning to the show, Disney Indiana's Scott Morris. You might remember, if you've been a long-time listener of the show, that Scott would come on the show around Christmas every year to talk about some sort of Christmassy monster movie, but that's something that we've kind of gotten away from here on the show. We just haven't done it in a while, and while we're getting back to that, we're bringing back that tradition this week when we talk about The Munsters Scary Little Christmas. Also this week, of course, we've got Kenny's look at Famous Monsters of Filmland, and Mark Matzke is back with another Beta Capsule review. The music that you're hearing right now is actually from the band The Nick Addams. The song is called It's Christmas Time, and it's from their album, The Nick Addams Christmas Record. The Nick Addams is no longer a band, but years ago they gave us permission to play their music here on the show, and well, they put out a whole Christmas album that I enjoy quite a bit. I listen to it every year around this time, so I wanted to share them with you guys and gals. You'll hear the song in its entirety with vocals at the end of the episode. Before we get into the rest of the episode, just want to remind everybody that if you head over to the Monster Kid Movie Club at monsterkidmovie.club, or just look up Monster Kid Radio over on Twitch at twitch.tv, you can see that we are currently streaming monster movies all day long. We've got about 6.5 hours of monster movies playing on a loop right now, and we're talking about movies like Santa Claus Conquers the Martians, The Great Rupert, Santa Claus, the Mexican film where he hangs out with Merlin and fights the devil, the original Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, and much more. Head over there right now, and then tomorrow on Friday, Christmas Day itself, I'm going to change it up a little bit, and you'll be able to see Danny Johnson Saves the World from Christopher R. Mim, as well as a movie from 2015 called Christmas at Dracula's. Again, that's at www.monsterkidmovie.club, or just look up Monster Kid Radio on Twitch. Of course, don't do that right now. Do it after you're done listening to this episode of Monster Kid Radio. And speaking of which, why don't we go ahead and get to the rest of that right now.
A dark force awakens.
Manos, God of primal darkness, as thou hast decreed, so have I done. The hands of fate have doomed this man. Thy will is done.
And only one being in the world can stop it. Santa Claus Conquers Manos, The Hands of Fate by Anthony Wendell. A comedy sequel for two of the worst movies ever made.
Madam, it will be very dangerous to leave now. The master wants you.
Santa has a little girl to save.
I'll try, dear lady.
He'll have to face a dark force to rescue her. And he'll need some help from a robot.
Sword, come out of the spaceship.
Santa Claus Conquers Manos, The Hands of Fate by Anthony Wendell is available on Amazon. Check it out for yourself.
Ho, ho, ho! Merry Christmas, everybody!
Listen. Do you hear? It's coming back, turning the screen into a buzzing, crawling, creeping nightmare of terror. This This is the son of the original Fly, daring to explore the forbidden science of transmigration that brought horrible death to his father.
You look as if you've just seen a ghost, old man.
It was the fly.
Fear that will fasten its choking grip on you, as his weird experiments spawn the twisted monstrosities of a living hell. The Rat Man, whose hands and feet are changed to paws. The living corpse who rose from his coffin. And the return of the Fly, seeking revenge with 1,000 eyes. Smashing anything that stands in his way.
Suppose he does come here. What if Philippe does not have the mind of a human, but the murderous brain of the Fly?
Then he will have to be destroyed.
Live from the land of light in Nebula M78, home of the mighty Ultra Heroes, it's Monster Kid Radio's Beta Capsule Review. Submitted for your approval, the 17th episode of Ultra Q, entitled The 1/8 Project, which premiered on the 24th of April, 1966. This installment carries some strong Twilight Zone vibes thanks to the straight-ahead sci-fi story, imaginative set design, and lack of giant monsters. When Yuriko is nearly trampled at a crowded train station, her attention turns to a nearby office, where people are signing up for an experiment called the 1/8 Project. The idea is fairly straightforward. If there was a way to shrink people and their accoutrements to 1/8 their normal size, many of the problems of overcrowding would solve themselves. Potential participants are assured that they can continue to cultivate bonsai trees and have as many children as they like. Yuriko is curious but non-committal until she is inadvertently herded onto an elevator and subjected to the experiment. The technology to miniaturize humans evidently exists, and it is up to June and Ippei to seek out their newly diminutive friend. But will their size cause too many complications in a 1/8 world? The 1/8 Project is a welcome change of pace episode, giving the lead actors plenty of screen time, and it could be said that they rise to the occasion. This week's familiar face belongs to Sachio Sakai as a government clerk. Sakai can be seen in significant supporting roles in classics such as Godzilla, Yojimbo, and Seven Samurai. For Monster Kid Radio, this is Mark Matzke wishing you a Merry Christmas and an ultra-happy New Year.
The House of Wax, the ultimate dimension in terror, comes to the screen in Stereovision 3D. Vincent Price at his diabolical best will take you room by terrible room on a journey to the ultimate chamber of horrors. Stereovision 3D will synthesize before your eyes the terrifying reality of it all. In Stereovision 3D, House of Wax is more than a movie. It's an experience you'll never forget.
I am Dr. Lee Cushing. Welcome to my Chamber of Horrors.
Dr. Cushing's Chamber of Horrors is a serialized monster rally novel in the tradition of the classic Universal and Hammer horror films. It's written by Stephen D. Sullivan, the award-winning author of White Zombie, Daikaiju Attack, Manos, The Hands of Fate, and the original Chill role-playing game.
My goal is to recreate the thrills of the Monster vs. Monster films that we all love. We'll have vampires, werewolves, mummies, psychic twins, and scheming madmen. And that's just in the first storyline.
Now you can get Dr. Cushing's Chamber of Horrors and other monster stories sent directly to your email for as little as $1 a month. For just $2, you'll get all the chapters in advance, plus bonus stories and other perks. Sign up now at CushingHorrors.com or visit sdsullivan.com or a Patreon link.
I do hope you've enjoyed your visit. Please come again, and remember, the chamber is always waiting for its next victim.
Happy holidays, Monster Kid Radioheads. This is Kenny with a look at Famous Monsters of Filmland. It's December 24th, and we are going to go in the MKR time machine back 55 years to 1965 and see what will be waiting under the tree for this eager monster kid. FM 36 was published right before the Christmas season and was loaded with over 200 gruesome goodies. Let's flip through the pages to see what little Kenny would have got. We quickly pass the mummified cover, over articles on future flicks, Dracula, and the mummy's ghost. Right after the mystery photo, we have a new item right in the middle of the issue, the Do-It-Yourself Monster Makeup Handbook. Listen to this write-up, and you'll say, just like me, I've got to have it. You asked for it, and here it is. Only Famous Monsters could bring you this fantastic handbook on monster makeup. You've all read Dick Smith's article in the pages of FM, and now Dick has put together a complete 100-page book revealing his secrets for the first time. The Do-It-Yourself Monster Makeup Handbook tells you where to obtain the materials you need, as well as how to apply these materials to your face. The step-by-step methods are fully explained in simple, easy-to-follow terms. Anyone can follow the description to turn themselves easily and quickly into one of the exciting monsters shown in the book. It's all here, and it cost only 60 cents. Send away for this book without gambling a penny. Read it for 5 days. If you are not delighted at the end of that time, if you can find this information anywhere else, then simply return the book for your 60 cents back. You have nothing to lose, and a world of monster makeup to gain. Send in the coupon today. With the presentation of this new book comes a makeup contest where you can win prizes as you try out all the tricks you can learn. We continue on, flipping quickly through an interview with Forey, articles on the House of Wax, Return of the Fly, and the Lost World, and some regular features to get to the massive Captain Company catalog that rivals any Monster Bash dealer's room at your fingertips. We start with FM back issues, some cheesy novelty items, and an announcement of a new comic magazine for Warren Publishing, Eerie. Plastic models, an 8mm projector, and some skull items attract your attention. And then the masks, including new ones featuring the Munsters. There are some magazines and more novelty items on the next pages, and this strange one catches your eye. Frankenstein Mad Mask drips blood. World's only shimmering, moving action Frankenstein's mask with dripping blood action. It's all in the reflection. Move head slightly and huge blood drops seem to pour out of forehead cuts and eye holes. All a trick though, and you stay perfectly clean and dry. Monster fans will love it. Others will be scared stiff. Send $1 plus 25 cents postage and handling. The next page features another new item, a must-have, the Mad Scientist Laboratory. Make Dr. Jekyll jealous. All the mad scientists will turn green with envy when you start using your Mad Scientist Laboratory. Down through the long, horrible history of monsterdom, there hasn't been a more compact, more amazing set like this. Imagine being able to carry on 100 laboratory experiments. Imagine being able to use chemicals, test tubes, beakers, and many other useful instruments to perform genuine scientific experiments. Be a mad scientist. You may not make your buddy shrink away to nothing, but simple instructions will let you do laboratory tricks of many, many kinds. The minute you open your Mad Scientist Laboratory set, you can do experiments with powders, liquids, textures, measurements, etc. Truly professional experiments you can't get a chance to do, even in school chemistry labs. Right before your eyes, you'll make substances change, make successful tests of all kinds. Truly a marvelous way to prove you can be a mad scientist. 100 different ways, on 100 different days if you want. Astound everyone. Watch the look in Dad's eyes, Mom and Sis's too, as you call them in to watch you be a monster chemist. No one will believe it is possible to do so many dozens of experiments. Until you do them. And you will, as easy as Dracula or Dr. Jekyll. Friends will also be astonished at your talents as you let them watch or help. Don't wait, don't delay, get your set today. Your Mad Scientist Laboratory comes in huge, beautiful, full-color carton. Simple instructions are included. You get hundreds of hours of fun and education. And remember, the 100 experiments you perform are the same as those carried out by skilled professional chemists, teachers, and scientists. Months of mad scientist experiments. Set comes complete, nothing else to buy. Includes a big variety of chemicals and holders. Guaranteed safe and harmless as you perform over 100 mad scientist experiments. The only thing to drive you mad about that is that it is completely safe. Of course, we'll find a way to make it dangerous. More novelty items follow, and then a full-page ad for the Famous Monsters photo printing kit. Which is your favorite photo from Famous Monsters magazine? Dreadful Dracula, fearsome Frankenstein, horrible Mr. Hyde, malevolent Mole Man? Now, here is good, gruesome news for monster mobsters. For the first time, you can have your own monster photo printing set. You can now personally own a complete set of the 10 most famous monsters photo negatives. Now you can print your own wallet-sized photo cards of the eeriest monsters, the all-time favorites officially selected as the best from Famous Monsters magazine. Your photo printing set includes everything you need to print official photos in a few minutes, right in your own home. Think of the convenience of taking a Famous Monsters negative, and in just minutes you get a finished print. You will be the envy of all your friends. You can have a photo printing party. Invite the gang in and show them how easy it is to get first-class prints of their favorite monsters. Your photo printing set includes everything you need to print official photos in a few minutes right in your own home. The 8mm movies are next, with all the classic monsters represented. We have some LPs too, with this one jumping out at me. Famous Monsters Speak. 50 minutes of sheer terror, brought to you by the editors of Famous Monsters magazine. You are Dr. Frankenstein, for only you can bring his horrible creation back to life in your own home through the magic of this real-as-death high-fidelity recording. And more, you will not only enjoy the company of the Mad Doctor's fiendish creation, you will also bring Count Dracula back to life. You will hear this human vampire. You will almost feel him as he reaches out for you. But don't wait. This is a collector's item, available in limited edition. Order today, only $1.98. Next, we have the Monster Hot Rod model kits. You have to see them to believe them. Mummy, Frankenstein, Wolfman, and my favorite, Dracula's Dragster. Imagine Dracula on the drag strip. You can put him there in the way-out, ghastly, ghostly Dracula Dragster. A horror on wheels. Flames shoot from the exhaust. A bat perches on the radiator. Eerie decorations adorn the front bumper. Sculptor Dracula steers the dragster with one hand, holds a magic potion in the other, while his red cape flies behind him. It looks as though Dracula is driving a coffin. And why not? That's what it is. You'll enjoy the ride with Dracula, and you can for only 98 cents, plus 27 cents for postage and handling. More books, magazines, models, movies, and novelty items round out this massive catalog, which is topped off with the Addams Family Haunted House model. Who's there? Nobody but a ghost host to meet you and greet you in typical cheery, eerie fashion. This haunty, jaunty house, an exact replica of the creaky house on TV's famous Addams Family program, was designed to warm the cackles of your own house. It's a kit built to scale. You can almost hear the moan, the shriek, the wail of the famous TV show. You can love, cherish, and have fun with it, and build it yourself. Keep your lights on, only long enough to assemble the Addams Family haunted house in a few minutes. Then turn the lights low and shriek with the creak of banging shutters, angles, gables, chimney, and other creature features. Have a real thrill as you chill to your own cozy haunted house, exactly as lived in on TV's most famous spook show. Last but not least, in full color, beautiful Dawn Post masks, the costliest items in this issue, all at $34,1965. A difficult treasure to obtain for little Kenny. So if Kenny has been good, and Santa can carry it all, 1965 could be a good Christmas for this monster kid. That is all for this week's look at Famous Monsters. We will have more next week. For MKR, this is Kenny saying adios.
Santa Claus conquers the Martians. Santa sets up a fantastic automatic toy factory on Mars. The Martian leader battles the wicked Voldar in a desperate effort to save Santa, the wise man of Mars. 900 years old. The Battle of the Toys, when Martian kids and Earth kids join Santa to battle the bad guys of Mars. For real space-age fun, you'll be out of this world when Santa Claus conquers the Martians.
It's Christmas and the graveyard folks are coming out to play. The skeletons and zombies sing a ghoulish roundelay. The goblins blow their jingle bells and wait for Santa's sleigh. The tidings of mayhem and joy carnival. May your Christmases be scary evermore.
Merry Christmas! Happy New Year!
Well, happy holidays, Monster Kid Radio listeners. We are bringing back a tradition that, we haven't really practiced here on the show in a while. When we first launched the show, every episode that came out around Christmas time, we tried to do a Christmas kind of movie. We did Santa Claus Conquers the Martians. We did the Santa Claus film from Mexico that, wow, is a doozy. And then we kind of stopped because we ran out of movies. We didn't know what to talk about. There wasn't really a lot of monster, horror, or even horror Christmas movies that were appropriate for Monster Kid Radio. But then the other day, Scott sent me a picture of a DVD that he found at was it a Walmart?
Meijer, actually.
Oh, a Meijer. Oh, okay. Very important part of the story. He's at a Meijer. And it's a DVD. What was the DVD, Scott?
The Munsters Scary Christmas.
So that is Scott Morris, the man from Disney, Indiana. The reason he sounds a little more distant than normal, I hear he's up at the North Pole right now, hanging out with Santa Claus.
Well, it's actually Herman. I'm actually hanging with Herman.
Okay, working with Herman Monster to make sure all the boys and girls get their toys for the year. Or something like that. I don't know. Scott Morris, how you doing, man?
I'm doing well. Well, about as best as it can be for 2020, but it is almost over.
It is almost over, and, I thought we'd cap it off with such a wonderfully, such a good,
A movie.
A movie. Yeah, we're talking about a movie. Okay, listeners, I do try to keep things pretty positive here, so, you know what? Scott promises me, he assures me that he's going to be able to balance my somewhat negative feelings about this film. But we'll get into that here in a second. First, I want to hear about what's going on at Disney, Indiana for Christmas, man.
Oh, the house is all decorated up for Christmas. Tracy and I are getting all excited. I'm actually off work for the rest of the year. I took a week's vacation, and then I get 2 weeks for holiday time. So I'm enjoying life right now.
Anything going on special at the podcast for the holidays?
I can't think of anything big. We just recently covered what might be considered a Christmas gift for some people. It was my birthday gift. My wife got me the Arcade 1-Up Star Wars machine cabinet. So I've been playing quite a bit of Star Wars, the original arcade classic game, the vector graphics, and it is a lot of fun.
Right on. I didn't know if you were going to talk about that on the show or not, but I guess it is a Disney adjacent. I mean, it's a Star Wars thing.
Yep.
Technically, I suppose it's owned by Disney at this point, as is almost everything else under the sun. So that's awesome.
They actually own the movie we're going to talk about today in a roundabout way.
Really?
Yeah, this was made by Fox.
But it had a Universal, well, I guess Universal owns the characters.
Yep. Like I said, in a roundabout way, because the show was made for Fox Television. It then converted to Fox Family for many years, which has been converted to Disney Family. And so they may have the rights to this movie.
Didn't it turn into like Freeform there for a short period of time? Is that what the network was?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So with any luck, this might turn up on your Disney Plus. is what you're saying.
Maybe.
Or,
but I'm watching The Mandalorian over that.
Yeah. What do you think's more likely to turn up on Disney Plus? This or the Star Wars Holiday Special? The original.
The original. I mean, they did show the Lego Holiday Special this year,
Mm-hmm.
the Lego Star Wars Holiday Special. It would not surprise me if at least the Boba Fett cartoon made it to Disney Plus.
I'm actually more surprised that hasn't gotten more play, just overall in general.
Oh, I agree.
Because that's the best part of that.
Yeah, Tracy and I actually talked about the Star Wars Holiday Special a couple episodes back on our podcast. And there is a very interesting documentary that's in the works that we found out about called A Disturbance in the Force, which I love the title, all about the Star Wars Holiday Special, which I definitely want to learn more about.
I've heard about that too, that they're trying to go back and talk to as many people that are willing to talk about it, that are still with us. And my understanding is that they unearthed some interviews with somebody that was involved with it that is no longer, was it Peter Mayhew?
I think it was Peter Mayhew, and it was all ones that were done at the time of making the special.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm really excited to learn more about this.
I'd be very excited to learn more about it, especially... I'm sorry. Okay, you know what? This is not what we do on MKR. We're going to celebrate this movie. I'm going to find something to like. And Scott assured me that he's got a roundabout way to enjoy it. So let's dive into this. It's the Munsters Christmas thing. Scary Little Christmas. Came out in 1996.
Way out of time frame from MKR.
It is. It's probably one of the more recent films we've talked about here on the show when you look at the calendar. I think there'll only be one or two. I guess we talked about Dracula Untold, and we kind of roundabout talked about the Mummy film with Tom Cruise. But yeah, this came out in 96, made for television, with none of the original cast.
No, none at all. And not even the cast that... this was actually the third cast. There's a second cast that I'm not as familiar with that did a Munster special. And supposedly they were all in line to come back to do this one, but whoever was playing Herman in that one asked for a little bit of money, and the powers that be said, okay, we'll take the money away from the rest of the actors. And so all of them said, nope, we're done.
So that was Here Come the Munsters in 95.
Yes, thank you. Yes.
With Edward Herrmann as Herman Munster, who I think at first blush looks more like a Herman than this guy did. Not just because of the last name, but, you know, I could see him playing Herman. I've never seen Here Come the Munsters, so I don't know. But yeah, he's no longer with us, but he did a lot of television commercials. I remember seeing him in that. He was a mainstay on Gilmore Girls and a handful of other things. And he's built like a Herman.
Well, this one was, Herman was played by Sam McMurray here.
Do you know anything about him?
I'm sorry?
I didn't mean to talk on top of you. Do you know anything about him?
Well, I was going to say first, I thought he had a lot of the mannerisms down in this special. He wasn't built like Fred Gwynne. He's not near as big, I think. But he had a lot of the mannerisms down. And the whole time I'm watching it, I'm thinking, where do I know this guy? Because his voice sounded so familiar. And there was a show that I was a fan of that I watched quite a bit, The King of Queens. I don't know if you ever watched that sitcom.
I'm familiar with it, though, yeah.
Sam McMurray actually played Kevin James's supervisor in that show. He was kind of a recurring character, and that's where I first knew him from. But then I did a little more thinking. He has a Disney connection because he was the voice of Ray Hess on Dinosaurs. Now, for those of you that ever watched that show, Roy was the main character, Earl St. Clair's best friend and coworker there. So he does have a Disney connection. And then another thing that I remembered that is going to be more of a Monster Kid related link. He's in Addams Family Values.
Really?
Yes, he plays. There was a family in that the Addams family kind of, it's their antagonist in the show.
Okay.
The daughter goes to a day camp, or the kids go to a day camp, and there's a little rich, spoiled girl there that gives them a hard time. That family is called the Buckmans, and Sam McMurray played Don Buckman, the father in that. in the 1993 film, The Addams Family Values. So he's been on both sides of the Addams Family Munsters battle.
Huh, okay. Well, I didn't know anything about him. I looked over his filmography, and the only Disney connection that I found, and we always talk about Disney connections when you're around.
Right.
He did, it doesn't say what, but he did one of the voices on the radio drama version of Empire Strikes Back that National Public Radio did back in the 80s. Don't know what voice it was, but supposedly he did one, so...
I just recently re-listened to all three, the Star Wars, Empire, and Jedi NPR broadcasts.
Aren't they great?
Oh, they're amazing.
Especially the first two, just fantastic.
Yep. So yeah, he's in that as well.
So that's our Herman. Our Lily is played by Anne Magnuson, somebody else I know absolutely nothing about. You got anything for me?
You didn't watch Star Trek Picard?
Take that back. Yeah, she is one. So she is like one of the admirals there, isn't she?
Admiral Kristen Clancy in 2 episodes of Picard.
But beyond that, I got nothing, dude.
Yeah, that's all I knew her from too.
I got nothing. And she is okay. I personally felt like she was a better Lily than McMurray was Herman, but I guess I have high Herman standards.
Both of them I thought were passable. I'm not saying they were good. They had a lot of the mannerisms down. They sounded a little like them. They didn't look like them at all. But those two, really, of the family, they're the only two that are passable for me.
You mean you didn't like Sandy Barron as Grandpa Munster?
Oh, no, not at all. Didn't look like Grandpa at all. And I know him from nothing.
Yeah, he's got a heck of a filmography when it comes to like television work. I don't know anything about this dude either, but yeah, he was probably my least favorite Munster in all of this. I don't know if he was going so far to make the character his own, if he was, he just felt flat to me. The other two, you keep saying they had the mannerisms down, and I guess I could see that. For me, it felt more like a caricature, but then you're a caricature of the Munsters, which is already kind of a caricature of the monsters. So it's like a second generation kind of thing for me. And what they did with his makeup too, I wasn't a big fan of the character design on that. I don't know if that's his real nose or not. I don't think it is.
He didn't remind me of Grandpa Munster at all.
No.
Anything about him, the way he acted and moved and his mannerisms, nothing reminded me of Grandpa. And I've always been a big fan of Grandpa Munster.
Oh, yeah, he's great, especially Grandpa and Herman together.
Oh, yeah. And there was no chemistry between these two actors at all.
No, not at all. All right, let's talk about Eddie Munster, played by Bug Hall.
Bug Hall! And I got to go with my 2 Disney connections right off the bat. He is the voice of a little kid in 1997's Hercules animated film.
Okay.
And he's also in 1997's Honey, We Shrunk Ourselves, playing Adam Selinsky.
That was the next movie that he did, right? The next project right after this.
That was the next one after that. He's one of the kids of the Selinsky family.
So I knew him from his very first film role. He played Alfalfa in the Little Rascals movie.
Yes, he did.
And if I remember right, he did a number of commercials after that as well. And the only reason that sticks into my brain, his name's Bug. The only reason I knew that. And it looks like he's one of these kid actors who is still kind of sort of active in the business.
Yep.
He's still doing small things here and there, including some television again, that sort of thing. He was wearing the worst wig I've ever seen.
Yes, he was.
It was an unfortunate headpiece.
The only time that I got a little bit of, was happy when he was on is when he gets into his bed for the very first time and we see Wolfie. Yes. I loved Wolfie.
Yeah.
In fact, I told Tracy was kind of in the room. She wasn't really watching.
Oh,
I
no.
told Tracy, I said, you need to make a Wolfie for your stuff with character.
Nice. And, we're talking about the Munsters. Let's just go ahead and knock the other one out. Marilyn Monster, played by another person, which of all the Munsters, I am most at ease with somebody else playing the role of Marilyn, because we've been programmed from the very beginning of the show that character gets changed out, that actress gets changed out every once in a while. So
I didn't like her.
No.
There's an innocence to Marilyn from the TV show and the movies that we've seen in the past that was missing here. She seemed a little more streetwise to me.
Yeah, she's played by Elaine Hendricks, who at the time, cute in a 90s girl kind of way, right? She's got the Rachel from Friends haircut. She's got that kind of bubbly, but yeah, she doesn't have I have no idea what that was, by the way. I will never do that again. But yeah,
I just hope you don't cut it.
Yeah. I'm just glad this isn't a video podcast, because you don't want to see the dance I just did.
Just as long as you weren't wearing the same short skirt that she wears most of this film.
Well, when you got the legs, you got it. Anyway.
Well, I'm not complaining. Except for when the elves saw it. But that's...
Oh, boy. That was... So she's active. She's doing lots of work right now. Of the 5 Munsters, I feel like she's probably the one that's done the most lately, and is still doing stuff. She was on the Dynasty reboot, so she's still doing stuff. So Elaine Hendricks is Marilyn. Kind of a non-starter for me in the film as well. She just kind of lacked something. She was Marilyn. You could tell she was Marilyn because she was the blonde one. I mean, that's about it. There really wasn't, like you said, that kind of innocence to it.
Yeah, I was really disappointed in the direction of her being not as innocent. She seemed a bit, and I can't think of a term to say, but kind of sexed up a little bit.
Oh, I have thoughts about that.
She reminded me of, and I'm blanking on the character's name, but the daughter from Married with Children, Christina Applegate's character.
Kelly, yeah.
Kelly. A little bit of a Kelly, not to that extreme, but that's the vibe I got off of her.
Yeah, not as sexed up in terms of like being sexually active per se.
Right.
But yeah, definitely kind of played with that kind of, always kind of, yeah. Boy.
That kind of rubbed me the wrong way.
So I'm going to make some assumptions here regarding the dolling up, I suppose you could say, or the sexing up of Marilyn, as well as some of the jokes that come later, especially with the elves talking about how much they really want to see some mud wrestling.
Yes.
And they're really obsessed with that. How they are infatuated and love Marilyn's legs, and talk about how far up they go and what kind of a wonderful climb it would be to get up them, and
how long it would take.
Oh,
yeah.
Boy. I have some comments, or just an assumption about that, and that is one of the co-writers of this film is a gentleman by the name of Ed Ferreira. Scott, I don't expect you to know who he is, but any longtime pro wrestling fans might know the name, because he was somebody who, with Vince Russo, in the 90s, jumped ship from the WWF to WCW, and is responsible for writing a lot of the more Attitude Era style material that happened during that time between WCW and WWF, the Monday Night Wars. And I know a lot of eyes just glossed over when I start talking pro wrestling. But if you think about stereotypical 1990s pro wrestling on television, it's not high art, folks. Especially when you think about how the women were handled and portrayed.
Is this the time of Gorgeous Ladies of Wrestling?
No, this is post this.
Okay. That's about the only familiarity I have with women in wrestling.
Yeah, this is mud wrestling, bikini matches, nightgown matches, bikini contests. This is that particular era of pro wrestling. This is before women's wrestling is really given a proper shine on television and in the business, really. It's all, to use a phrase that I've picked up from a wrestling program at one point, I'm sure it's not exclusive to wrestling, but it was all sizzle, no steak.
Okay.
And the wrestling was very sexist and misogynistic and brought in the ratings, but it didn't really bring on women wrestlers because they could wrestle. They brought them in because they were sex objects, and they were treated as such and were told to perform as such. And part of that was because one of the writers, I'm sure most of the writers were told to do that, and one of the writers of that co-wrote this.
Well, I can understand now, having watched this now before. I brought this to your attention. I had never seen this film before. I didn't even know it existed.
Yeah, me neither.
So, having watched it for the first time just today, actually, I can see where in the 90s that you want to bring in that type of thing, thinking that you're going to bring in the young male audience. But when we watch it from a 2020 point of view, that aged horribly.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, this... Oh. So, yeah, he was one of the writers, Ed Ferreira. And I saw that name come up in the credits. I was like, no, that's not the guy. No, that's the guy. The other co-writer is Kevin Murphy. I don't know anything about him. His name didn't strike me as anything that I might have some exposure to. So I don't have anything there. But yeah, Ed Ferreira technically is a Disney connection as well because he worked on the Honey I Shrunk the Kids television show.
Well, there is two other cast members that I want to point out.
Okay. What do we got?
The first one was the character of Mrs. Dimwitty. Did you realize who that was?
I was wondering if you're going to bring that up. That's Mary Warrenoff.
Yes. Very prolific B-movie actress.
Mm-hmm.
She's been in films like Death Race 2000, Night of the Comet, Chopping Mall, Rock and Roll High School. And she has a Disney connection because she's in 1990's Dick Tracy.
Yeah. She was in a movie that I've been trying to get my hands on. If anybody has access to a short film called The Vampire Hunters Club, it's from 2001. I've been trying to get my hands on it. I don't know where even to look for it. I should actually ask Don Glut. He's the one that directed it. But John Agar's in it, and I want to see this movie so badly. So if anybody's got a lead on The Vampire Hunters Club, apparently starring Mary Warrenoff and a bunch of other people, let me know. But yeah, she did a lot of B-movie stuff, cult stuff. Did she ever do Trauma?
I'm not sure she ever did Trauma or not, but I'm a big fan of hers. I like her. I think she's a lot of fun, and she was fun in this. I mean, she was very stereotypical of a TV sitcom-ish neighbor who thought themselves better than anyone else, but she played it well. She's
the neighbor from Bewitched. She's the neighbor from Christmas Vacation. She's that kind of nosy neighbor, thinks she's better than her, but yeah.
Yep.
And really kind of played for laughs. She is in Night of the Comet, which I know is a favorite of yours.
Oh, yeah. She's one of the scientists in that, and she's really good in that movie.
And if you go on Netflix, look up the short film Frankenstein's Monsters, Monster Frankenstein. It's short, so it's not a big commitment of your time, but it's fantastic. And she's in that as well. That stars David Harbour, who you might know from Stranger Things or even the last Hellboy film. But he's fantastic in that.
Is he the sheriff?
Yes.
Okay. He's also going to be in the Black Widow movie when it ever comes out.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. You're right.
And there's one other actor that I wanted to point out. And for me personally, this is my greatest Disney connection I have ever brought to MKR in my entire career.
Career,
yeah. And that's Ed Gale, who played one of the elves. He was Larry the elf. He also was the man, the myth, the legend, Howard the Duck. In 1986 film with the same name.
The man, the myth, the legend, the Duck.
The Duck. He was also, which I think is fun because it's one of my all-time favorites. He was Chucky's stunt double in Child's Play from 1988 as well.
Uh-huh.
But I love Howard the Duck, and I know it's no good. But
dude, you love what you love, man.
Yep.
You love what you love.
So it was, seeing Ed Gale in there, like, yeah, it's Howard the Duck. It's awesome.
Did he save the movie for you?
Pardon?
Did he save the movie for you?
I was enjoying the movie before I saw him in the film.
Okay.
It's very sitcom-y.
Oh, very much so. And you can tell it's a TV movie because there's a lot of fade to blacks where the commercial would go.
Yeah, I half expected a 90s commercial to show up half the time, even though this was a less than $5 DVD I bought at Meijer. So I definitely got my $5 out of it. Yeah. But yeah, it's very sitcom-y. It follows that format. And one of the things that I really think was a lot of fun was all of the cameos of the other Universal monsters that show up in this film.
Which, when we first started talking, and you said, something about it being a Disney thing, I was a little surprised because I remember the Universal logo at the beginning of this, and I knew Universal controlled the Munsters, so I was really confused.
Yeah, because, you see the Wolfman, you see the Mummy, the Invisible Man, the Phantom of the Opera.
You see the creature, just for a second.
I was leaving that one for you.
Yeah.
You see him more than a second, because there's an early on scene, because basically in the story, Eddie's having trouble with Christmas because he's not having a traditional Transylvanian Christmas. He doesn't like Southern LA, or Southern California, excuse me. So each of the Munsters take it upon themselves they do separate plans to get him to have a good Christmas. And Marilyn's idea is to invite all the family for a traditional Christmas party. So she writes letters to everybody in the Munsters family, including the creature from the Black Lagoon. So there's a scene where he gets his card early in the film, and you see him from inside his mailbox, basically. And then there's a big party at the end where all the monsters show up, and he's there dancing. The one thing I kept watching and waiting for him is being referred to as Uncle Gale, and that never happens, unfortunately.
There's a couple things that happen in here that I wish there was a throwback to, or a callback to. I really was hoping for that, but I just never got it.
But I thought it was cool to see all of the other monsters, including the Lon Chaney version of Phantom of the Opera. I thought that was awesome.
Yeah, that was cool to see that for sure. Yeah, there's enough monsterisms, I guess, in here I don't know. I'm losing it was cool to see him.
And like I mentioned earlier, I thought Sam McMurray did a passable job as Herman. I did like the scenes where he was trying to raise extra money, because his idea to give Eddie a better Christmas is to buy him the one toy that he wants. And you see him not having extra money. I guess he works in a funeral home,
right?
And he can't get a raise or a bonus or anything. So you see him going to try to raise extra money, including going to a blood bank, which I thought that went on too long because the phlebotomist could not get the needle in his arm, and the needles kept breaking or bending or whatever.
Right.
But the one job that got a laugh out of me when he was going to be a model, and that was probably my inner 12-year-old, but there's a art school, and it's a room full of people that are waiting for the model to come out, and he comes out wearing a big oversized red smoking jacket, which I thought was hilarious. And of course he drops the jacket and he's a nude model.
Yeah.
That joke got overused a bit.
And that's something from this sitcom. I feel like the creators of this maybe watched a handful of the shows of the original TV show and tried to work some things in. It's like, oh, he works at a mortuary. Let's make sure we put that in there. Or a funeral home, excuse me. And, people scream when they see Herman, and people run when he opens the door. They did that a lot with the carols and that sort of thing when the carolers would show up.
That's the point I was going to make, because they make that joke at least 3 times in the movie with different groups of carolers coming and screaming when they see him, and that got old.
I tell you, and maybe I'm just being unfair to the film, I cast my judgment on this from the very beginning during the first scene with the carolers. When he comes out and the carolers scream and run off and he goes, oh, we're doing James Brown, and then starts doing the James Brown dance. I was like, oh no. Oh no.
Yeah, it didn't get off on a good foot there.
In fact, when that happened, I heard 2 words running through my head in your voice. And it's from the episode 500. The court.
Oh,
exactly. When I brought up a certain thing regarding a man and a banana, I'm just going to leave it at that. Merry Christmas. There's an image for you.
I would have cut that down. Maybe just the scene ends after they all run away. The James Brown.
Now I want to see Herman Munster as James Bond, but okay.
Yeah, I started to too. But the fact that they used that joke at least 3 times in the movie It's like, come on, come up something else, something different. But
Yeah.
I also liked when later on Marilyn's quote unquote boyfriend shows up and Herman expects him to sing. I thought that was okay. It wasn't bad.
Yeah.
But there was a little funny bits in there that kept me going. Again, like you said, I wish there was more callbacks to the original show.
Mm-hmm.
I was also hoping, like I mentioned, I would love to have seen them mention or call him Uncle Gale. I would love to have seen the car. There's a lot of things that I would like to have seen.
I got really excited towards the end when they're talking about how they don't have reindeer. How are they going to get around the world so quickly to drop off all the toys? And I thought, are we going to see Dracula? Are they going to pull out the coach? Are they going to do something? No. They just take all the bikers from the biker bar and turn them into reindeer.
Yeah, I was wondering if there was things that they just didn't have access to or were denied access to. I don't know.
Maybe.
But really, I think this film, even though it's kind of generic, hijinks happen at Christmas where everything goes wrong and we have to save Christmas. Because, and they actually at one point in the special abduct Santa Claus, and Santa Claus and a couple elves show up.
Mm-hmm.
But really, there was some laughs in there for me, and it was kind of a fun family film.
It's very family friendly. Very, very family friendly. I feel like if you come to this not knowing anything about the Munsters, and you said this earlier, so I don't mean to steal your thunder, but if you come to this not knowing anything about the Munsters, you might get something out of it, because it doesn't play like a movie with characters that we already know. It's kind of implied this is their first Christmas here in the States. And that just does not jive with the show, I mean, we know they've been there for a while, but they're talking about how they hate it here in LA, or Eddie hates it here in LA. He hasn't made any friends. He really misses the old country, that sort of thing. Like, you should have gotten over that back in the 60s when the show was, but okay, whatever.
Yeah, that was really one of the things that kind of drug me personally down watching this film.
Yeah.
Is because of my history with the characters.
Yeah.
And it really prevented me from getting as much out of this film that I think I could have. If somebody is not familiar with the Munsters at all, or if you have little kids and you want to introduce them to the Munsters, I think this would be a good starting point.
Potentially, yeah.
Because you've got that Christmas vibe that the kids would get into as well. And you got Santa, and you've got a decorating contest, and there's enough stuff that they're familiar with, and then they're going to see the Munsters and get a taste of what they're like, whether it's not a full taste, it's just a nibble, and enough to where, maybe I want to learn more about these people.
Maybe, yeah, okay, I'll give you that. I'm trying to be generous and give, I'm trying to be. So the overall story, like we've already talked a little bit about, Eddie misses the old Christmas. He doesn't think Christmas is great here. He's picked on in school, apparently, and that's something that's kind of sort of brought up and then maybe brought up again at the end. Doesn't have many friends. He just thinks Christmas is not going to be great this year, whatever. And the family wants to help him have a good Christmas. And ultimately, they end up kidnapping Santa Claus and a couple of elves.
Yeah, basically, the three family members each come up with a different idea. We mentioned how Marilyn is inviting all the family to Southern California. Grandpa is trying to figure out a way to make it snow in Southern California, being the greatest alchemist in Eastern Europe, which he mentions many times in the movie.
Many times.
And then Herman decides he is going to get the toy that Eddie wants, the Mark de Sade dungeon playset, which I want one.
Yeah, me too.
And Lily, she decides to get Eddie to help her decorate the house to enter into the neighborhood Christmas decorating contest.
Yeah.
So you've got all these little sub stories going on. And at one point, for some reason, Grandpa teleports Santa and two elves from the North Pole to Southern California. Why he was doing, I didn't quite understand why he did that when he was trying to make it snow, but that's what happens.
What are the elves' names, Scott? Larry and Lefty.
Yeah, Larry and Lefty. Yes.
Oh, boy. Oh, man. So now there's the hijinks of how we're going to get Santa Claus back so he can, do the Christmas thing. And like about halfway through the movie, as Santa Claus there and they're trying to figure everything out, Eddie does a 180. Just kind of randomly, okay, he likes Christmas now. We got to help out.
Well, I believe the whole movie does a 180 because you've got these stories starting of each of the characters trying to cheer Eddie up. And then all of a sudden when Santa and the elves show up, the elves turn out to be, hey, we take this advantage of not having Christmas this year and visit some bars and just party and
mud wrestling.
And we're going to sabotage all the plans to get Santa back so we can stay here and not have Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
And how do they sabotage? What do they do to Santa?
They turn him into fruitcake.
Literal fruitcake. That was bad.
Uh-huh. Yeah, but it gave Mary Warrenov an opportunity. I mean, it ultimately leads to Mary Warrenov having a chance to kind of chew the scenery a little bit and really kind of go over the top, which, she's fun to watch freak out.
And she does it well.
Yeah.
So I did enjoy that. I also enjoyed the way the house was decorated. And it really gave me kind of a Nightmare Before Christmas vibe because it was two holidays colliding. They were doing Halloween type decorations with a Christmas bent to them.
That was my favorite part of the film. And I was going to ask if you got a Nightmare Before Christmas vibe out of it.
It was mostly Nightmare, but I also got a touch of Beetlejuice.
Got a little bit of Beetlejuice. And to take even a step further, I almost felt like the decorations felt less Munsters and more Addams Family.
True.
But I still really liked it. I love the guillotine and the snowman getting his head chopped off.
I want that in my front yard.
Oh, that was awesome. Are you kidding me? That was great.
Yes.
And I know they're trying to play it up for laughs and they're trying to create more animosity between the neighbors and the Munsters because Mary Warrenov's character typically wins the decorating contest. But the judge adores what the Munsters have done.
And that's where I got the Beetlejuice vibe because it's not the same actor, but he reminded me of Odo.
Oh, he really did, didn't he? Oh, wow, yeah.
Not the same actor, but that's where I got the Beetlejuice vibe from.
What is that actor? Who is that? I don't even know who that is, but yeah, no, you're absolutely right, man. Oh,
but I did like the decorations.
I love the decapitating snowman.
And they also had a woman who was being dropped from a noose into a boiling water that looked like Mary Warrenov's character.
Yeah, I'd be all over that. That's the kind of Christmas decorations I want. I don't do a lot of Christmas decorating and that sort of thing, but that's what I want right there.
Now, we do a lot of Christmas decoration. I would put up a lot of that stuff for Halloween, personally.
There you go. See, you set it up for Halloween and you just let it ride for a few months.
There you go.
That's right. One and done, man. You mentioned Herman getting a job as a nude model for an art class. What was the job he got after that, and how did it turn out?
He was a telemarketer.
Working from home.
Yep. He was cold calling people, asking them if they wanted air conditioning. And there's a scene where he's calling and he's obviously talking to a woman, but you never hear her side of the conversation.
You just hear that kind of in the background. Yep. Yeah.
And he refers to her as Mrs. somebody or other. But he goes, what am I wearing? Well, I'm wearing oversized boots and a jacket and everything.
No, a nightgown.
Nightgown, that's right. A nightgown and oversized boots. And he says, what about you? And you just hear,
well, then I guess you don't need an air conditioner then, do you? Yeah. It's like, well, wow. Did she just, wow.
Yeah, because Tracy overheard that part, and she's like, did she just say she was wearing a nightgown and oversized boots, too? And I said, no.
I suspect she's wearing less at this point. Yeah.
Yes, that's why she didn't need the air conditioning.
Yes. Wow. Yeah. That was, thankfully, the last job we got to see him try, right?
Yes.
Because I didn't want to see where that escalated to. We start to nude model to inadvertent sex phone operator to... Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, I wish they wouldn't. I mean, I don't like that was kind of weird. And the nude model, where while I enjoyed it, it really didn't fit in with this movie. I think they should have spread that out. It was like boom, 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 boom. Here's what he's doing. Here's what he's doing. Here's what he's doing. Okay, we're done with that joke and go on to something else.
Yeah, they did kind of play that one pretty hard and just really let it go. And they also played Grandpa up a lot. They really let him ham it up. And oh boy.
Yeah, I actually read, I was looking when I was reading about this, and there was, let me see if I can find it here. Sam McMurray does a passable job as portraying the bumbling Herman Munster, and Ann Magnuson keeps some of Lily's sass, but Sandy Barton as Grandpa is hammier than a truck full of pigs.
Wow. Sandy Barron, truck full of pigs. Which one? Yeah, wow. All right.
I kind of have to agree.
Oh, he's really over the top. It's just,
he kind of falls to the wayside the second half of the movie.
Yeah.
Which is good. I mean, there's a scene when we mentioned Sandy gets turned into a fruitcake. Mm-hmm. And there's a scene where they're trying to turn him back into Santa. And you don't see Grandpa doing it. You see Lily trying to do it, which I was happy about.
Yeah.
They could have easily had Grandpa trying to do it.
If this was a 3-part episode of the Munsters sitcom or whatever, that felt like the equivalent of Sandy Barron just wasn't paid for that week's episode, so they had to give his parts to somebody else. And I was okay with that too. And it wasn't just done. They did try to give us an explanation. It was like, as a little girl, I used to help my dad do this, this, and this. Great. Awesome. You do the work, Lily.
Yep.
Let Grandpa hang in the belfry some more. Although he does come back at the end, because they do wrap up all the other little, for the most part, all the other little storylines with the making it snow and that sort of thing.
Yeah, he ends up making the snow, which ends up winning the decoration contest. And as we mentioned earlier, once they get Santa back, I do like the idea of the toy machine that the elves built that's hooked up to Herman's head, his brain. And all I got to do is show him a picture of a toy, and it shows up on the conveyor belt. I did like that.
Yeah. I did see the possibility for some hijinks there as well. I'm glad we didn't get to go that far, because at that point I was pretty much done. I was ready to move on. I was ready to set up Skype and call my buddy Scott to talk about it. I didn't need much more. But we did get a little bit more because Herman does get to go on the sleigh ride at the end, and goody for him, as is pretty typical with a lot of stories like this. The father figure is just as big a kid as the kid and really gets in the Christmas spirit, even more so sometimes than anybody else than the kid. And he gets to put on the Santa Claus suit and gets to ride with Santa and have his little Christmas thing. So
one of the things I really like about this movie is the visual of Herman Munster in a Santa suit.
And we needed that. We needed that to override the visual of the Herman Munster kind of sort of looking like the driver from Munster Go Home, but not quite when they go to the biker bar.
Yep.
Yeah. Which got me really excited again when I saw that. I was like, oh, are we going to see Dracula? Oh, just give me the coach. Give me something. Give me one of the, I don't care. Just give me something. No.
Yeah, I would like to have seen him on a monsterized motorcycle or something.
Yeah.
If you can't use the real stuff, let's come on, have some fun and build up, but probably didn't have the money for it. So
a lot of this felt like they didn't have the money for it. There's one thing that bothered me. Okay, that's not one. There's
I was
one.
going to say, it sounds like a lot of things.
No, there's one thing that really, I wanted more with Eddie and the other kids his age in the neighborhood. Not necessarily with the bully, which does get referenced a few more times. Apparently Santa Claus gives out deer droppings on top of coal if you're on the naughty list. And he's very happy about it, which Santa, I don't think he's supposed to be happy about that, but okay. But I wanted to see more with Eddie and the kids, especially the kid who's done up like the class nerd. It almost felt like Eddie had a friend, and I want to know more about that.
Yeah, I did too. In fact, he doesn't seem to even survive the only scene he's in, because there's a scene early in the film where Eddie and this other kid are walking together, and the bullies stop them. And they kind of push Eddie down. They get his note that he's written to Santa Claus of what he wants for Christmas. And the other kid just kind of disappears. He's not there anymore.
You could tell there was almost a connection there. Maybe there was, and there was something missing. I don't know, but they're walking and they're actually talking to each other. Are they still behind us? I don't know. Better not look. It really felt like they were friends, and I wanted more of that.
Yeah, I did too.
But that's the only thing I wanted, and everything else was perfect.
I think you see him in a blink and you miss it thing at the party at the end.
Yeah.
I think I saw him.
The party at the end, as much fun as it was to see the Universal monsters, the Universal design of the monsters, including the Hunchback. We got to see the Hunchback of Notre Dame there.
Yep.
And that was cool. That scene, though, felt more Addams Family than Munsters to me. A lot of this felt more Addams Family than Munsters to me.
I can definitely see that, especially when Lily shows up at the top of the stairs before the party really kicks in. You don't know everybody's there.
Yeah.
And she kind of is really over the top.
She's vamping it up, man.
She's vamping it up. Thank you. That's a good term. And you definitely get a Addams Family vibe there.
Well, and then when Grandpa gets on the piano or the organ and starts playing, it's like, dude, that's what Lurch does. Come on now.
Yep.
But it was cool, like you said, to see the Universal monsters in there. You see the Phantom, and I haven't watched it yet. The Munsters Revenge special that's on the Munster Go Home Blu-ray. I guess there's a Phantom in that as well. At least the back cover of one of the releases of that online shows that. So I guess that turns up in there. And like I said, or like you talked about, Uncle Gil shows up, even though they don't call him that. I do wonder if maybe they only had, like you said, permission to use certain things. They can mention Mockingbird Heights. They can mention the Munster family and their character names. They can mention Spot. But maybe they can't mention the coach or show the coach or talk about Uncle Gil or reference anything else from the show. Or maybe it was intentional. Maybe this was, you know what, we're just going to do our own thing and ignore everything else. I don't know.
Could be. Which is a shame. I would like to have had it tied to the original series just a little stronger.
Yeah.
In all honesty, there's a scene near the end of the movie where Grandpa steals a sleigh from a display. And they're stealing it because they need it for the actual Santa to use. And they get pulled over by the police. And I was half expecting it to be one of the original actors. I don't remember exactly where, when Fred Gwynn passed away or the guy that played Grandpa. But I would love to, if that had been like Car 54.
That would have been a perfect cameo.
Yeah, I was kind of hoping for that.
Oh, when did Fred Gwynn and Al Lewis pass? Now I want to know. Let's see. This came out in 96. Fred Gwynn passed in 93, so that would have been a no-go. I think Al Lewis passed before him, didn't he?
I believe so.
Oh, wait, no. 2006. He stuck around.
So he could have been there.
Shoot. Give us Butch Patrick. I don't care.
Oh, even Butch Patrick. Somebody.
Yeah.
Would have been fun just to have, somebody do a quick cameo right there. Because that cop's in it, maybe a minute?
Yeah, just a second. Treat it like the Brady Bunch movie. Throw in one of the original characters as a random cameo for no reason. Yes, I just brought up the Brady Bunch movie on Monster Kid Radio.
But yeah, I would have liked to have it been one of the people that was also in Car 54, because then you could have had a double cameo. It could have been the Munsters and Car 54.
Right? Yeah, that would have been good. There's a lot of things in here that would have been good if. There's a few things that, again, like I said, felt more Addams Family. The door knocker. What was that about?
It reminded me of A Christmas Carol door knocker.
There you go. Okay, I'm trying real hard to make it make sense in my head, and I'm having a hard time jumping to Christmas stories. I'm just thinking, that's not very Munstery. That's an Addams Family thing. No, you're right. That's Christmas Carol right there.
Mm-hmm.
There's a talking door knocker, which the Munsters did not have, right?
No, they did not.
I didn't think so. We do see Spot for a second. Probably more Spot than we ever saw on the show.
You see him a couple times because he... at one point, Lily says, "What did he eat?" So and so. He says, "No, he still had half a mail carrier,"
which I appreciated a lot.
Yeah.
That was actually one of my favorite jokes, actually, when they're talking about, they still have mail carrier in the bowl. Yeah, that was one of my favorite gimmicks or gags. That's the word. Favorite gags in the show. Wow.
Yep.
Give me some coffee. Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't think it's going to become a mainstay of holiday.
You still there?
I'm still here. I just forgot how to talk. It's just not going to become a mainstay of holiday viewing for me. I'm glad I watched it. It was fun to get back to our tradition here on the show. And it's fun to hang out with the Munsters.
I honestly think I'll watch this again.
Yeah?
I enjoyed it more than I thought it would. Now, going into it, like I said before, I knew nothing about it. But I did a little bit of glancing after I purchased it, saying, did I make a bad purchase? And I saw there's a lot of bad reviews online about this, and people don't like it. So when I hit play on it, I was like, okay, I'm in for something really bad. And I enjoyed it. I had fun. It was fun to see these characters in a Christmas setting. It was fun to see them trying to act in a little more of a modern day and age. I mean, they didn't make everybody else seem like they were in the 50s or 60s. It seemed like they were in the 90s. And I kind of enjoyed that. I would like to see the Munsters trying to interact with more of a modern world. And the fact that it was at Christmas time, which I'm a big Christmas fan to begin with. I love all things Christmas, and I love Christmas movies, and I love Christmas situation comedies quite a bit. I've always loved the different ways they do Christmas episodes. I was glad this wasn't a Christmas Carol. I mean, other than the knocker, that's the only reference, but I didn't want Herman to fall asleep and be visited by 3 ghosts, because it seems like most sitcoms do that at some point. I was glad that wasn't the way that this went.
I'm glad they didn't go down that route, although, again, I keep comparing it to the Addams Family. Doing the 3 Christmas ghosts feels more Addams Family than Munsters. Yep. I don't know why it does. It just does. This does have a more cartoony feel, which is relevant. I mean, it's appropriate. The Munsters was a little bit more parody and lighthearted and family-friendly, family fun. It didn't have the edge of, for lack of a better term, sexiness that the Addams Family had.
Do you think that things like that fit into the Addams Family better? Because I believe the Addams Family references more of monster supernatural type stuff, where the Munsters is more a fish out of water. Let's put the monsters in the real world.
I think that's part of it, maybe. It's kind of a reverse, though, with most of that kind of putting them in the real world, because it's not like they're having trouble with the real world. The real world has trouble with them.
Oh, definitely. They're not changing. Yeah. But again, I enjoyed it for what it was. Starting it up, I was kind of apprehensive. I'm like, what did I get myself into? But I found myself laughing and smiling at different points. I liked Herman and Lily's character. Even though they're not the originals, they were passable for me enough to carry this bad as Grandpa was, and the fact that he disappears the second half of the movie, I was glad.
Oh boy, yeah.
And nobody else dominate the screen like Herman and Lily do, and they were fun. They were passable. They were fun for me. So I was enjoying the movie, and like I said earlier, if you've got little kids that you want to introduce the Munsters to, I don't think this is a bad way to introduce them, because you've got that Christmas vibe that the kids love, and I think they would enjoy this and be interested to find out more about the Munsters. And then when they move on to the actual series, they're going to see something that's even better. But having said all that, I will probably watch Santa Claus Conquers the Martians and Santa Claus over this.
Yeah, as would I. As would I, for sure. I am glad I watched it. I really am glad that I watched this. Got me a little bit more of the Munsters legacy, I suppose you could say, in me. I haven't watched a handful of the Munsters movies. Talked about the Munsters Revenge. I haven't seen the Edward Herrmann stuff. I guess that was just the one show. And I didn't see the attempted remake launch. I haven't watched the one pilot they did a few years ago. But I'm happy to have seen it. There are a few moments that I'll remember. I don't ever need to see Herman doing a James Brown dance again. I never, and not that it was overly bad or very long or whatever. It just felt
out of character.
It's so out of character and just kind of silly and dumb looking. Just,
yep.
He's like, oh, he's wearing a large suit. Let's have him shake the large suit around. And he just didn't have the body type.
I always enjoy when they put him in situations that are the fish out of water type situations. And there was enough of that here for me to enjoy.
Yeah. Telephone solicitor.
Yeah.
And just being completely oblivious to all of it. Yeah.
Yep. That's the plus. He just does it. He's happy-go-lucky and nothing gets to him.
Yeah, that's true. It takes a lot to get Herman down. You're right. He's always got this kind of eternal optimism, and it doesn't matter what the world does or how it reacts to him. He's always got this shine inside,
In this case, what really gets him down is his son not being happy.
Which goes back to something that I think is core to a lot of the Munsters, right? Is that Herman Munster is the quintessential dad. He's the one he's the dad that monster kids may or may not have wanted, I suppose, depending on what your relationship was with your dad growing up. But he's the one, if you have a problem that involves anything scary, he's got your back. He's got you.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely. He wouldn't be my choice to replace my dad, obviously.
Yeah, and I wasn't trying to go there, but I know what you mean.
Right.
Yeah.
But he would be, a good, uncle. I'd love to have had him as an uncle. That would have been awesome.
Oh, dude, yeah, that'd been fun. I'd never want to leave their house. Can we go visit Auntie and Uncle again, please? Please, 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 please. Even if they thought I was hideous and ugly like Marilyn, which they did play that a little too hard for me in this. I felt like that came up a little bit more than I was comfortable with.
Yeah.
But
there was a lot of issues with her character all the way through. So
there really were. There really, really were. At least she got a boyfriend who didn't go running and screaming when he first saw Herman this time.
It's true.
He was also kind of dumb and oblivious to everything, right? Oh, it's a costume party for Christmas. This would catch on. It's like, dude. Okay.
Yeah, and I do like when Lily says, was somebody wearing a costume?
Oh, man. I know we don't do ratings or rankings or anything on here, but it sounds like Scott gives it a thumbs up.
I would recommend it. Just if you're even the littlest fan of the Munsters, give it a shot. For me, it wasn't as bad as I feared it was going to be. It's not great. It's not high art. It's not, something that I think a lot of people will like, but there is some that are fans. And if you're not as big, know the Munsters as well, I think you'll get more out of it, unfortunately. But it might get you into wanting to see more the Munsters.
That's always the hope, right? That whenever somebody does a remake or a reboot or reimagining, that fans of the original always hope that, well, this means maybe somebody will check out the original. That's what we always hope for. And maybe,
true.
Maybe that'll happen here.
Yeah, I think this being a reboot or a reimagining, I don't think they went far enough away from the original to really start something new, and they didn't get close enough to the original to be at a true homage. It's kind of in the gray area there.
Yeah. It's an alternate reality, Munsters. It's a
there you go.
Alternate timeline. Where
a multiverse and go into Marvel.
It's part of the Santa Claus Munsters multiverse, where Lumpy and Lefty know how to turn Santa Claus into a fruitcake.
Yes.
And they love their mud wrestling. And really, who doesn't? I mean, come on.
And climbing.
I mean, that's what I'm going to be... Oh, well, I'm not going to be doing that right after this. Never mind. I want to end the conversation on that, but I feel like that's such an abrupt stop. We already talked about what Disney Indiana's up to this year. Anything else for the rest of the year? What's coming up at the very end of the year for Disney Indiana? Any big New Year's plans?
We've got one more episode coming up, and we're still trying to figure out what to do on that episode because it's after Christmas, but it's Christmas weekend because Christmas, I believe, is on a Friday this year.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So it's that weekend, but we're still trying to think about. I think we're going to talk a little bit about a recent trip. We actually finally went somewhere. We went to the Superhero Hall of Heroes Museum. Luckily, we were the only ones there.
So you had the place to yourself, right?
Unluckily for them, we were the only people there, but there wasn't anybody else in there. So I felt pretty safe. We were wearing our masks the whole time, and we got a chance to talk to the owner quite a bit. He was masked up, and so it was good. And plus, they had one Lego set that I personally have that I've never built. The 1966 Batman Batcave. That is the entire Batcave, the Batcopter, the Batmobile, all Lego that came out a few years ago. It's now out of print and very hard to find. They actually had it all put together. And when I was talking, with the owner there, he was telling us that his son actually built it. His son's 20. So another adult fan of Lego there. And we got a little bit conversation into his plans for next year because his son will turn 21 next year. And he wants to have his 21st party and first drink at the Cantina Bar at Galaxy's Edge at Disney World.
Oh, I hope the world, is safe enough for that. That'd be awesome.
That would be a wonderful place to have a 21st first drink.
But no, that's awesome, dude. That sounds cool.
So we'll probably talk a little bit about our visit to there, but I don't know what else we'll talk about.
Very cool. Any big plans for 2021 for the podcast? Do you know what you're doing yet? Your big theme?
Our big theme, 2021, is also in Disney, Indiana, 2 big 50th anniversary years.
Yeah?
Walt Disney World itself will be turning 50 years old in 2021, and so will my co-host. So one of the things, and there's nothing funny about that.
I wasn't going to say that.
And one of the things we're looking about doing is picking out each month an attraction or a restaurant or a hotel or something that opened with the resort in 1971 that's hopefully still working or still there, and kind of talk about its history each month, kind of to celebrate the 50th anniversary of Walt Disney World.
Right on.
We hope to actually get to visit it, but we'll see.
Well, fingers and tentacles crossed for not just that, but for everything moving into the new year. Scott, thank you for your support this year on Monster Kid Radio. Of course, there's a link over at our website to Disney Indiana, but I'll just tell you right now, DisneyIndiana.com. That's where you want to go. Go check it out. Keep up with Scott and his better half.
I appreciate it, and I also want to thank you and all of Monster Kid Radio for everything that you've done in support of everybody during 2020 with the show and the streams. It's been almost a lifesaver for me from going crazy and being able to get together with Monster Kids and just chat up on the streams while we're watching these different movies. It's been amazing, and I've loved doing it. Also been so much cool to be able to help support it with Tracy's Stuffed with Character, which if you want to search over on Facebook for Stuffed with Character, you can see what she's up to over there. But being able to share that with a lot of people and also learn about video editing, which is something I had never done before this year, and to be able to make some commercials that run over there has been amazing as well. So I wanted to thank you personally for those opportunities.
You're welcome. Now, I appreciate all the support, of course. And Stuff with Character's been an important part of the Monster Kid Movie Club. So thank you for being part of that. And Scott, I know you and I will talk again before then, but until then, just in case something happens, I don't think there will be. I hope I didn't just jinx it. Happy holidays, man.
Hey, happy holidays to you, and Happy New Year and everything else. 2021's got to be better.
Gotta be. Well, that brings us to the end of yet another episode of Monster Kid Radio. Thanks for hanging out with us. Thanks for spending some time with us on this Christmas Eve, or December 24th. If you don't celebrate Christmas Eve, it's just, another day. But anyway, thank you for being here. I just appreciate you spending some time with us here at the podcast. You can learn everything you need to know about Monster Kid Radio over at our website at monsterkidradio.net, where you're going to find links to everything that's important to us here on the show, like our Facebook page and our Facebook group, our Twitter page, and our contact information. You can email us at monsterkidradio@gmail.com, or you can call and leave us a voicemail at 503-479-5657. That's 503-479-5MKR. If you have any thoughts or comments about anything we've talked about here on the show, either in this episode or the previous 502 episodes, or what we're talking about next week on the show, feel free to send us a message and we'll talk about it on an upcoming episode of the podcast. What is coming up next week? Well, I'm really grateful that I've got people in my life that are patient enough to work with me whenever we run into problems here on the podcast. A few months ago, I actually met with friend of the show, Paul McComas, to record about a movie that is a little outside of the Monster Kid Radio wheelhouse, but, it's kind of sort of a haunted house movie, and, it's just something that I wanted to talk about here on the show, and Paul's a big fan of the film, so we recorded an episode about The Shining. Yeah, the Stanley Kubrick adaptation of a Stephen King novel. I conducted a recording in which the both of us talk about the film. And then I lost the recording. I'm hopeful that maybe it'll turn up, but even if it doesn't matter, because Paul has agreed to meet with me again to do another recording about this, and that is scheduled to happen here in a few days. So fingers and tentacles crossed we don't lose that recording, because next week on the show, we want to talk about The Shining from, 1980? Yeah, 1980. So that'll be an interesting episode. I think. The recording that we did before was pretty cool anyway, and I hope I can capture some of that magic again for you guys and gals here on the show. That will be the final episode of 2020. What does 2021 have in store for us? I can see where I want to be. It's getting there. It's trying to figure out a way to fill in the blanks between now and then, from here to there, that I'm still trying to work out. But I'm looking forward to working it all out, and I'm hoping you guys and gals will be around to work it out with me, as I don't know what I'm saying anymore. Happy holidays, everybody. Let's go ahead and remind you that Monster Kid Radio is a registered service mark of Monster Kid Radio, LLC. All original content of Monster Kid Radio by Monster Kid Radio, LLC is licensed under a Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial No Derivatives 3.0 unported license. Of course, it doesn't apply to the song It's Christmas Time by the Nick Addams. That belongs to them. My name is Derek M. Cook. Hopefully you'll be back here next week for episode 504 of Monster Kid Radio, where we talk about The Shining with Paul McComas, or you join us at the Monster Kid Movie Club either, today or this weekend or Tuesday for the sci-fi movies. You know what? Just stay tuned. We'll be around. My name's Derek M. Cook. Thank you so much. Happy holidays and ciao. Oh boy.
It's Christmas time, yippee-yay, it's Christmas time. I'm not sick, I'm feeling fine. What you like about it's Christmas time? String up the lights and put up a tree. Nobody loves it as much as me. Gotta get together with the family and everyone's happy and Christmassy. Gotta do a dance cause I'm happy as punch. Mystery gift, well I've got a hunch. Meats and cheeses for an early lunch. Santa can have him for his lunch. It's Christmas time, I'm so happy it's Christmas time. Get a lump of coal, hey, not this time. Everyone knows it's Christmas time. Checking my stocking for an early treat. Toys and candy, they can be beat. Think I'm dreaming, better click my feet. Of course I'm not, this is really neat. Open the presents super fast. Better slow down and make it last. Always been a good boy in the past, which makes this Christmas a super blast. Christmas time, it's Christmas time. Yippee-yippee-yay, it's Christmas time. I'm not sick, I'm feeling fine. Oh, what you talking about, it's Christmas time. It's Christmas time, Christmas time. I'm so happy it's Christmas time. Get a lump of coal, ain't out this time. Everyone knows it's Christmas time. Christmas time, it's Christmas time. Yippee-yippee-yay, it's Christmas time. I'm not sick, I'm feeling fine, cause what you talking about, it's Christmas time.